How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Ches, Daf 8 of Masechta Sanhedrin. Friends. Alright, friends, listen up. Here's the thing. Okay, so we've already done most of, I'd say about 80% of Ches Amud Aleph. Now here's the thing. We get into this sugya that really there's just there's a machlokas between Reb Meir and the Chachamim, and there's something like 6 or 7 ways, like a lot of different ways to explain the machlokas be'etzim, and it's basically just like one opinion after the next until Tes Amud Beis. And the thing is, if we could stop at the end of Ches Amud Beis, but then we'll have to pick up tomorrow from in the middle of it. I don't know. We'll have to pick up tomorrow in the middle of it, like mamish in the middle of it. It's not that big of a deal, but I don't know. I kind of just want to do all of it in one sitting. Let's just get through all the opinions today, and then tomorrow we'll probably have a shorter daf. Yeah, tomorrow will be a shorter daf. So I think that's what I think I'll do. Just even though it's not doesn't fit neatly into different dafs, but at least it'll primarily be just one big sugya today. It's not the easiest. That's what I'm thinking to do. Alright. So where are we? Alright. So we're on Daf Ches Amud Aleph already. 2 lines before it gets wide. So we're pretty far along already in Ches Amud Aleph. So even though we're doing a lot on Daf Tes, we've already done a lot on Daf Ches. Anyways. Tashlum Keifel v'chulei. Okay, so when it comes to double payments, so we said that is with 3 judges. Shalach lei Rav Nachman bar Rav Chizda le Rav Nachman bar Yaakov. So Rav Nachman bar Rav Chizda sends to Rav Nachman bar Yaakov. Rav Nachman bar Yaakov is Rav Nachman. Ilamdeinu Rabbeinu, teach us dinei knosses bechama. How many judges are required for dinei knossos, for fines, right? After all, keifel, arba v'chamisha, those are fines, right? Because meikra, then if you steal something, you pay back what you stole. Here we're saying pay back twice. The extra is a fine. So how many judges do you need to judge a fine? What exactly are they asking? Ha'anon tanan v'shlosha. What do you mean? It says in the Mishnah that you need 3 judges for keifel, arba v'chamisha. Ela yochid mumche kami boyele. The question is, what about if you have 1 expert? If you have 1 expert, can 1 expert judge fines? Da'in dinei knossos alo. Can 1 expert judge fines or not? Omer lei. So if Nachman says, Tinisua. Well, our Mishnah says, Tashlum keifel v'tashlum arba v'chamisha b'shlosha. That keifel and arba v'chamisha is with 3 judges. My shloshem, when we're talking about 3, we're talking about adjotis, we're talking about mumchin. Ile mishlosha adjotis. Well, if you're going to suggest talking about 3 adjotis, ha'omer avu de avuch, the father of your father. Who's the father of their father? I mean, their father is. I meant to look this up, but their father is, of course, Rav Chizda, right? This was Rav Nachman bar Rav Chizda. So then, who's your father's father? The father of your I don't know, it doesn't even say who he is. What, Rav Chizda's father? Who's Rav Chizda's father? I don't know. Anyways, the father of your father, what does it say? It said in the name of Rab, Afilu Asar ve'en adjotis, even if you have 10, but they're adjotis, psulin, the dinei knossos, they're possible when it comes to knossos. So even 10 mumchin, even 10 hedjotis does not work for knossos. So certainly 3 adjotis would not work for knossos. So therefore, when the Mishnah says 3 judges for knossos, ela mumchin. So it must be that the Mishnah is saying that you need 3 mumchin when it comes to knossos, and there's your answer. V'kamer shlosha, you need 3. You can't, right? Yochid mumche would not work for knossos. You need 3. Azoy. Motzi shema b'esem shlosha. Here we go. Motzi shema. Azoy. Well, let me look up something actually. I just want to make sure that this is, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So the Mishnah had said that Motzi Shemra is Bishlosha according to Rav Meir. The Rav Meir says that for Motzi Shemra you need 3 judges. Alright? The Chachamim say that you need 23 judges. Okay? So the question is, now what is Motzi Shemra? The Matzosi Levitcha B'sulim. Right? Motzi Shemra is that a husband and wife get married, and then the husband comes to court the next day, and he says, right, which is why we say B'sula Nises Leom Aravi, that B'sula gets married on Wednesday, so if there's any problems with her not being a B'sula, so then he can come to Bezdin already on Thursday. Now if he brings witnesses, because Bezdin's on Monday and Thursday, now if he brings witnesses that use Mezaneh Tachtov, right, during Erusin, Nari Me'orasa, so then the halacha is that she gets stoned. It's skila, it's din nefashos. However, if he comes to Bezdin without witnesses, okay, well if there's no witnesses then she won't get stoned, but based on his own testimony, that if he simply says, look, she was not a basula, so he's believed that she will not get, she will, her ksuba that says that she's a basula and therefore is entitled to 200 zuz, she will lose that and she will only be entitled to 100 zuz. So we would adjust the value of her ksuba. So azoy. Right, we say, why do we believe him just on his own admittance? Because ein adam toreach besuda mafsida. Anyways, fine. Right, I mean, he wouldn't put in all the effort to get married and make a suda, and then he's just gonna take it to court the next day. Anyways, so if he comes to Bezdin with witnesses that she's a mizana zanara merosa, so then it's a din nefashos case. It required 23. If there's no witnesses, it's a din mominus case to adjust the ksuba, and therefore it only requires 3 judges. So now, the assumption in the Gemara to begin with is that we're talking about a scenario where the husband comes to Bezdin without witnesses. So it's a din mominus case. So Meir says, okay, it's a din mominus case. All you need is 3 judges. The Chacham say you need 23 judges. Because, well, even though there's no witnesses, so therefore it's a din mominus case, but theoretically, if there were witnesses, it would be a din nefashos case. So because there's yes, right now it's a din mominus case, but because there's not, we're saying not even the potential, but because there is a scenario of motzi shemra that would be dinei nefashis, i.e., if he came with witnesses, and because there is such a scenario where it would be a dinei nefashis case, if he brought witnesses, so therefore it's just always with 23, even when he doesn't bring witnesses. So now, fact the Gemara. I don't understand, but right now he doesn't have witnesses. He's coming to court without witnesses. So that, right, just to adjust her ksuba. It's purely a dinei mominus case. I don't understand why the Chachamim are saying that there's 23 judges, because, well, if he would have brought witnesses, then it would be dinei nefashos. But he didn't bring witnesses. So now we are going to see lots of ways to explain this machlokas. Starting with Ula. So Amar Ula says, Ula says the question is, are we concerned? He's coming. The husband is coming to Bezdin without witnesses. Purely a dinei mominus case. He's coming to Bezdin without witnesses. Purely a dinei mominus case. The question is, when he comes to Bezdin without witnesses, the question is, how good are the entis? The Yentis in the Mongol colony on Shabbos afternoon. The Yentis intelligence services. The Chachamim seem, I would say the Chachamim probably have the right idea here. The Yentis know all. The Yentis know all. And therefore the point is, according to Chachamim, look, once the, but I think, I of course like to point out the Yentis, but the point is that, broadly speaking, people will find out, okay? So the question is, do we have to be concerned that once this din comes to Bezdin, once this case comes to Bezdin, people are going to be talking about the case, and once they're talking about the case, so then witnesses might come out of the woodworks and say, yeah, we taka saw that she was mizaneh as an Armarasa, and it will become Odini Nefash's case. That's the question. Right now, there's no witnesses. The question is, should we be concerned that word is going to get out that this case is happening, and then witnesses are going to come out of the woodworks, and it'll now become a Dina Nefash's case? Reb Meir says, no, right now there's no witnesses. We're not concerned. Witnesses are coming. 3 judges is enough. We're not concerned that we're going to have to add judges. 3 judges is enough. The Chacham say, look, it's a real consideration that witnesses are going to show up, and it'll become a Nefash's case. So therefore, Milichatchila, it already starts. We just start with 23. Because there's a real possibility of witnesses coming and it becoming a Nefash's case. So therefore, we just begin with 23. So again, so Amar Ula says, Ula b'choshishin elaz kamithliye, the machloikes between Reb Meir and the Chachamim is, are we concerned about la'az? Are we concerned that word is going to get out, and once word is out, witnesses are going to show up, and once witnesses show up, it becomes a Dina Nefash's case. And therefore, you should just start with 23. Reb Meir says, we don't have such a concern. And therefore, if right now he's coming, the husband's coming without witnesses, so it's a momentous case, 3 judges. Rabbanan Savri Choshin Lalaz. Rabbanan say Enochinami, but we're concerned that witnesses are going to show up and it'll become a Nefash's case. Therefore, we start with 23. Okay, so here it says Rava. There's different gears of Rabba. I think Rabba makes a little more sense because soon we're going to see Rava and Abai come up. So Rabba Amar says Rabba Kuli Ama Lilaz Lo Chayshin. So Rabba disagrees and says no. If that were really the case, that it was purely a momentous case, that he came without witnesses, he says, look, I'm really just coming to adjust the ksuba. So everyone would agree it would be three judges. Okay? It's purely a momentous case. Even the Chacham would say 3 judges in that case. Here, what are we talking about? We're talking about where the case began as a Nefash's case, as we'll see in a second. And then it became not a Nefash's case. Do we have to be concerned about the Kvod Shorishonim? Okay, I'll talk about it outside first. Be'etzem, the husband says to the court, he says, look, get me together, I need a bezin of 23. I need a Sanhedrin Kitana. This is going to be a Nefash's case. I have witnesses. This is a case of Dina Nefashis. I need 23 judges. So Bezin says, okay, Seder, they schedule him in for a case of 23 judges. They get 23 judges. They're ready. He shows up. Couldn't find witnesses. So after saying, wow, that was a waste, Chaval, they're now so now they're going to go home. So, okay, look, it's not Dina Nefashis case. Okay, we're going home. So he says, all right, well, but at least, let's at least adjust the ksuba. Okay, at least let's make it a momentous case. Let's adjust the ksuba. So the question is, to then adjust the ksuba, can 20 of the judges go home and just 3 stay to deal with the momentous case of adjusting the ksuba? Or do we say it will reflect poorly upon those judges? Like, I don't understand. Why did they send them home? And therefore, no, we keep all 23, and even though it's ultimately now a momentous case to adjust the ksuba, we keep, if we're gonna do just the ksuba, you would still need to do it with all 23 judges. Okay. 1 second. Okay. Fine. All right. So Rabba Amar says Rabba, 3 lines from the bottom. Kuli alma lilaz lo chayshina. Everyone agrees we are not Choshesh Lilaz. We are not Choshesh Lilaz. And if he came without witnesses, Milichatchila, so it would be a momentous case, so it would be 3 judges. But here we're talking, the machlok is between Reb Meir and the Chachamim is talking about Choshesh and the Chvod Sharishon. Do we have to be concerned about the honor of the original 23 judges? Here what are we talking about? That he told the court, look, I need you to organize for me 23 judges because I'm going to show up with witnesses and it's going to be a din in a Nefashis case. The Ibdur, but he didn't end up following through. He did not show up with witnesses, and therefore it was not a din in a Nefashis case because there were no witnesses that she was Mizanez and Aymer also. So the judges were going to go home. V'amrlu, and he says, Dainu li mi adin in mamanis. Well, would you at least judge for me to adjust the ksuba? A din in mamanis case. And the question is, do you need 23 judges for this mamanis case now, or just 3? Reb Meir says you only need 3. It's a mamanis case. 20 of them can go home. Or what about the fact that it will reflect poorly, potentially, on the 20 that left? What happened with them? What was wrong with them? Reb Meir is not concerned. The Chum are concerned, and they say no. Once you gather 23, so it remains 23. Even though now he's just looking to adjust the ksuba, you would keep the 23 judges for that, according to the Rabbanan. But according to Rabbah, if he just showed up without any witnesses, purely for a mamanis case, the Chacham would say that it would be 3 judges. We're not choshishin lilaz. Now, Meisveh, we have a kasha on Ula, who says that the Chacham are choshishin lilaz, because we have a brisa that says, Meisveh, the Chacham say, Tavo mamin beshlosha. Tivo nefashos be'esim v'shlosha. That if the husband is coming purely for a mamanis case, at least this seems to be the way that we're going to understand it, at least for now. If the husband is coming purely for a mamanis case, it would be with 3 judges. Ein choshesh in the laz, seemingly. Tivo nefashos be'esim v'shlosha. And if he came and he says, look, I'm going to have a din in a nefashis case, well then you need 23. So this seems to be supporting Rabbah. Bishlam the Rabbah, I understand according to Rabbah, Tva mamin tchila bishlosha. According to Rabbah, Rabbah says, Ein choshesh in the laz. That's not a concern. The shaila is choshesh in l'chvod sharishon. So therefore, according to Rabbah, if he showed up, right, Tva mamin tchila, if the husband initially says, look, I don't have any witnesses, I just want to adjust the ksuba. Well, if that's the case, bishlosh. So all you need is 3 judges there, right? Because according to Rabbah, ein choshesh in the laz. There's no concern that the witnesses are going to come out of the woodwork. So you only need 3 judges. Tvo nefashis tchila. But if he initially informed the court that he's going to be coming with witnesses, and therefore we need 23 judges, well then, afilu mamin be'esim v'shlosha, even if he doesn't come with the witnesses, and it becomes purely a mamanis case, to adjust the ksuba, still, the Chacham would say you need 23, because choshishin l'chvodan sharishon. Ula kasha. But according to Ula, I don't understand how the Brisa could say that v'chacham mamun tvo mamun b'shlosha. According to Ula, how can you have a scenario where there would be 3 judges? Because according to Ula, even if he comes without witnesses and he says, look, I just want to adjust the ksuba, the Chachamim would say that you would need 23 because choshesh in the laz, according to Ula. So how can we have a brisa that says v'chacham om tvo mamon b'shlosha? Then the Chachamim say that it would only be 3 judges. Memele, you would have to be concerned though that witnesses are going to show up when the word gets out about the case, and you're going to need 23 according to the Chachamim. Omar Rava says, Rava ani va'arisha b'chabura tagimna. Umanu Rabchia Barovin says, Rava, I and the lion of the group answered this brisa how it could be even according to Ula. Umanu, who is the lion of the group? Umanu Rabchia Barovin. The answer that's Rabchia Barovin. We've seen this before. Rabchia Barovin being referred to as the Arisha B'Chabura, the lion of the group. Okay, so how do you explain this brisa according to Ula, right? Because the brisa is saying according to the Ula, the brisa is saying according to the Chachamim, if he comes from mamanis, then it's 3 judges. But according to Ula, even if it's mamanis, you have to be choshesh in the laz, and it'll become 23, and the Chachamim would say 23. Choshen Lalaz. So how do you have 3? Hochav Ma'askin, and here what are we talking about? Chav, you ready? Wow, I want to go till Tessamud Beis. We're only on Chesamud Beis, and I'm wondering if my brain is going to be turning to mush. We really got to use our brains a little bit over here. Hochav Ma'askin, and here what are we talking about in the Brisa? How do we explain this Brisa according to Ula? How do you have 3 judges for Maminis? Okay, so the husband came with witnesses that she was mizana as an aramor also. So that's a din in a nefashos case. Therefore, you need 23 judges. Okay. Aha! But the plot thickens. Now, the bride's father brings witnesses that are mazim, the husband's witnesses. So the husband's witnesses were coming to kill her. Now they become Eidim Zobmim, i.e. the bride's father brings witnesses that say that the husband's witnesses are clearly lying because they were with them. The second witnesses say that the first witnesses were with them, the second witnesses in a completely different place at that time, therefore they could not possibly have seen that she was mizaneh. And therefore we have to kill the husband's witnesses. But then what happens is, the halacha by motzi shemra is if it turns out that the husband is lying, okay, if it turns out not as he says, that she was not mizaneh, so then I think it's a v'kansu also mea kesef or something. He has to pay 100 selas. The halacha is that the husband now needs to pay 100 selas to his wife's father, and that is a separate cheshbon, right? Meaning the fact that the husband owes the father now 100 selas, and that case would be with 3 judges. So, but legabes mammon mibal bishlosha. So we're saying that now that the husband has been proven wrong, so his witnesses are going to be killed because based on their testimony we were going to kill her. So vasisim lo kasher zama. So we kill them. But the husband now owes 100 selas to his wife's father, to his father-in-law. So tvo mammon, right? So it was balagabis mammon when the father-in-law comes to collect 100 selas mibal from the husband bishlosha. That is with 3 judges according to the Chachamim. But of makom nefashis, but in terms of the case of motzi shemra, when there's witnesses be'esim bishlosha, and even if even in but this is according to Ula, right? It says choshen lalaz. So therefore, in the scenario where the husband came to Bezdin, even without witnesses, but choshen lalaz, and there's the potential for witnesses to come and for it to become a din in nefashis case. For the case of motzi shemra itself, that would need 23 judges. Where the Brisa says that they need 3 judges is only if the husband's proven wrong and now he owes the father-in-law 100 selas. So that case would be with 3 judges. But the motzi shemra case, however, would be with 23, because even if he comes without witnesses initially, choshesh and alaz, we're concerned that witnesses are going to show up. Wow. This is summed up. Wow. Again, I'm only halfway through Chesamud Beis now. Again, I wanted to get to Tessamud Beis, because we're just going to see one explanation after the next. We'll see. Maybe if it picks up speed, maybe we'll keep at it. Otherwise, we'll just go to the end of the daf. Abaye Omar says, Abaye. So says Abaye. So now Abaye's opinion on the machlokas between Reb Meir and the Chachamim about is motzi shemra with 3 or with 23. So Abaye says, look, everybody agrees choshesh and laz, and therefore if the husband shows up in Bezdin without witnesses, we're concerned witnesses are going to come. We're still going to need 23. And also, And in a scenario where he says he's going to bring witnesses, but he doesn't, so then they're going to go home. But he says, let's at least adjust the ksuba. You would need 23 because the choshen l'chod and shorishonim. Hachav ma'eskinon, and here, right? So everyone agrees, both chashin and lalaz and mishum kvod and shorishonim. Okay, so how would Reb Meir say 3 judges? Well, the husband comes with witnesses, but when they're checking out the witnesses, it turns out that they only warned Stam that she was going to be killed, but they didn't say that she was going to get skila. Kilu, there were witnesses, but the witnesses had told the wife, or the arusa at the time, hey, if you are mezana right now, you're going to be killed, but they didn't say you're going to get skila. So Vaitanu, and this is the following Tana, the Tana that we learn in a Braisa, Usha'ar kol chayvei misos sheba Torah, all other capital punishments in the Torah other than mesis, other than somebody who's trying to get other people to do avodah zarah. Okay, so these other chayvei misos would include, of course, nar merasa. Ein memisin also ela be'edim be'eda ve'edim ve'asura. You need eda, I believe, is 23. Yeah, 23 judges, witnesses, and the witnesses have to warn the violator. And that they have to warn that if they do this affair, they're going to be chayiv misa. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda says it's not enough just to warn that you're going to be chayiv misa, but you have to say which misa. So Rabbi Meir is like Rabbi Yehuda, that since they didn't warn her that she's going to get skila, but just that she's going to be killed, that's not enough. They would have had to said skila, and therefore it's not a capital case. And since milichatchila, we already know that they didn't warn about, right? Because already they told a court of 3 that they didn't warn, right? Apparently 3 judges are going to kind of check them out initially. So, right, he says, where are we? Yeah. Okay. Alright. Misa Stam. So Rashi says that these judges said in front of 3 judges, these witnesses said in front of 3 judges that we warned her that she was going to be killed if she was mizana as an Ari Marosa, but we didn't say that she was going to get skila specifically. So Reb Meir holds like Reb Yehuda, which is that you have to specifically say skila, and since they didn't, it's just a dinimam in this case. And we're not concerned that other witnesses are going to come because there already are witnesses. And the Chachamim say it's enough to just say you're going to be killed, and therefore it's a case of nefashos, and you need 23. Rav Papa Omar says, Rav Papa Acha bi'isha chaveras. I think now it's going to pick up. I think it's going to pick up speed now. I think we'll be all right. I think we're going to go for it. Rav Papa Omar says, Rav Papa Acha bi'isha chaveras. Here we are talking about that Machot between Reb Meir and the Chacham is where she knows halacha, right? She's a learned woman, and she knows that she's an Ara Me'orasa. She knows that if she's mizaneh, the punishment for that is skila. So the question is, when somebody knows, do you still have to warn them? Is the point of warning in order to inform them because they don't know, so we have to tell them, or is the point of warning that you have to warn no matter what? So the Kamifke befukta to Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbanan, the Tani Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, Omer Chover in Tzarich Asra. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda says, look, a person who knows halachis, you don't have to warn them; they know already. The point of warning is to, right? The fishalo nidna asra el lav can be choking lemezid. The point of asra is that a person, right? The whole point of asra. It's funny, I didn't actually think this through until right now. The whole point of asra is so to be able to distinction between inadvertent, right, intentional and unintentional. So if by warning a person and saying, hey, you know that if you do this, this is what's going to happen, and they say, yes, I'm doing it anyways, right, so then we know that they did it on purpose, and then they're going to be chayiv misa. But if the question is, if the person already knows, so then do we assume that Well, if they already know, then they know what they're doing, and they're doing it anyways, even without the warning. So, according to Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, if they know, then you don't require a warning, and therefore it's Nefash's case. So I guess the Chacham say like Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, that so there was no Asra, but you don't need Asra because she already knew. Therefore, it's Nefash's case. Whereas Reb Meir holds that she would still require Hasra, and since there was no Hasra, it is not a capital case; it's a mominous case. Rav Ashi says, Rav Ashi, I'm going for it. I don't think so far. I think we're just at like a half an hour or something. I think it's going to speed up now. I'm just going to go for it. Rav Ashi Omer says, Rav Ashi could go on, for example, the Asu Bei Malchus, V'lo Asu B'Ktala, that they warned her, she's an armor, so she was Mizana. They said, if you do this, you're going to get Malchus. Well, if they warned her she's going to get Malchus, we're not going to kill her. We're going to give her Malchus. Because everything that you're Chayv Misa for is also a lav, right? Don't do it. So, if they warn her you're going to get Skila, so then of course you get Skila. That's the actual punishment. But if they warned her that she's going to get Malchus, well, if they warned her she's going to get Malchus, we can't then turn around and kill her by stoning, right? So in that case, it would be a Malchus case. Well, our Mishnah, our Mishnah from Daf Beis of Masechta Sanhedrin discusses the machlokes about is Malchus with 3 or is Malchus with 23, and that's taka the machlokes between Reb Meir and the Chachamim. Reb Meir says 3 because Malchus is with 3. The Chachamim say 23 because Malchus is with 23. Beflukta to Rabbi Shmuel the Rabbanon. The Tanan that we learn in our Mishnah, Malchus b'shlosha, that according to the Chachamim, Malchus is with 3. Mishum Rabbi Shmuel Amru b'esim b'shlosha, but according to Rabbi Shmuel, it's 23 judges. Interesting. Okay, fine. Ravina Omar says, Ravina Kagon Shenimsa Echad Mino Edim Karov Oposul. Ravina says that it's talking about a scenario where he brought multiple witnesses. The husband brought, let's say, 3 or more witnesses. Let's say 3 witnesses. Okay, the husband brought 3 witnesses. One of them turns out to be a relative, let's say, or let's say Puzzle. One of them turns out to be a thief. Okay, one of them is Puzzle. Okay, either a relative or Puzzle. So now what happens? So one of them is Puzzle, but the other 2 are fine. So could we rely upon the other 2? And the machlokes between Reb Meir, who says 3 judges, it's a mominous case, and the Chachamim say 23, it's machlokes between Reb Yossi and Rebbe, Aliba de Rabbi Kiva, based on Rabbi Kiva the Tanan. That we learn in the Mishnah, Rabbi Kiva says, Rabbi Kiva, lo bashlishi el lahachmir olav lasos dino kayotze beil. That the pasuk says, I'm reading the pasuk says, al pishnayim edim o shlosha edim yumas hameis, lo yumas al pi erechot. That capital punishment requires 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses. So the question is, if all you need is 2 witnesses, so just say 2 witnesses. What's the deal with or 3 witnesses? The reason why it says or 3 is to teach you that even though all you need is 2, if 3 come, and then all of them become Edim Zomimin, so I could make the argument, well, we should spare the life of the 3rd one, since technically he wasn't needed, right? He wasn't, right? I mean, once there were 2 witnesses already, they were being Mechayev Misa. You didn't really need the testimony of the 3rd. But we say, no, if he joined with them, and they all turn out to be Edim Zomim, even the 3rd one who wasn't technically necessary, wasn't technically needed, the 3rd one would still be liable as well. Right? So Lo Bashlishi, the reason why it says 3 witnesses, El Lahachmir Olav, is to be stringent on the 3rd witness. That if there are 3 or more witnesses to be right, so let's say 3 witnesses, so then it's to be stringent on that 3rd one, Lasos Dino, Kayotze Be'elu, that his punishment will be just like the other 2, even though technically he's not necessary. But he participated, his punishment is going to be the same. So now, says Rabbi Akiva, but the inverse is also true. That as we know, a good deed is greater than a bad deed. And therefore, if we're saying that somebody, right, that this 3rd person, when it comes to punishment, even though he was not required, he is still going to be considered with the rest of the group, as part of the rest of the group, and punished. Well, the same thing is true in the inverse. If you have somebody who joins together with others to do a mitzvah, and he's not necessarily needed, but he joins together with them, he will get rewarded together with them as well. If the pasuk punishes somebody who was tafel, who was not necessarily needed, but was still part of the group of those who sinned, and treats this unnecessary contributor with the rest of the group to be punished, then all the more so, sheishalim socher, that we shall pay reward as a nitvalose mitzvah, somebody who, while not required, nonetheless joins together with a group of people doing mitzvahs, keose mitzvah, like the ones who are needed to do the mitzvah, but also whoever tags along will get reward as well. Now, this is where it starts becoming relevant to our case. And just like by two witnesses, if one of them turns out to be a Karev or apostle, so then the testimony is batel, is null and void. So av shlosha nimtze echad mein Karev apostle edusum betela. So then also if there are three witnesses, and one of them turns out to be a Karev or apostle, a relative or apostle, so then the entire testimony, the entire testimony of the witnesses is thrown out. How do you know that this is true even for 100? You have 100 witnesses, one of them is a Karev apostle, all 100 witnesses are dismissed. Edim, it says witnesses plural. Okay. Now, Omar Reb Yossi says Reb Yossi. Oh, interesting. Okay. Fine. Anyways, okay. Now Reb Yossi says, Reb Yossi, when is this true that we say that if one of them turns out to be a Karev apostle, the entire edus is thrown out? Bedina nefashis. That's by capital cases of Abedina Mominis, this guy edus bishar. But by monetary cases, by Dina Mominis, you can you can still rely upon the other witnesses. If one of them is a Karev apostle, you still rely on the other one. So that is Reb Yossi's opinion. So according to Reb Yossi, if one of the witnesses turns out to be a Karev or apostle by Dina Nefashis, then the Nefashis case is thrown out. So therefore, before we kind of get lost, let's already just quickly tie Reb Yossi's opinion into our Mishnah. So therefore, we're going to say that our Mishnah is talking about where the husband brought three witnesses, one of them turned out to be a Karev or apostle, and therefore, according to Reb Yossi, you throw out the witnesses, right? Their testimony is inadmissible, and therefore it's a Mominus case. And Reb Meir would hold like that and say that all you need is three judges. Now, however, Rebbe Omer echad dina Mominus ve'echad dina nefashos, but Rebbe says that this applies both to dina Mominus and dina nefashos, but the emosai bisman she'isru boen. But when we say by nefashis that if one of them is a Karev apostle, then we throw it out, that's only when the Karev or the apostle did the warning. So if the witness who was problematic said, hey, if you do this, you're going to be punished that, right? If the Karev or the apostle actively warned, right, did the warning to the violator, so then we throw out the testimony. Aval, bisman shelo yisru boen, but says Rebbe, if the Karev or the apostle didn't actively warn, well then, what if you have two brothers and a third person that they saw that Reuven killed Shimon? So just because, right, so now you have basically one witness, another witness, but then the third witness is a brother to one of the other two witnesses, i.e. two brothers and a third. But now what? So you have two brothers and a third person who see that Reuven killed Shimon. So now what? We're not gonna, right, Reuven killed Shimon, now Reuven gets off the hook because one of them, because he happened to have killed Shimon in front of two brothers? even though the brothers didn't do, right, they didn't warn. The third guy said, hey, don't do that, you can be chayav misa. It just happens to be there were two brothers around. So Rebbe says, just because the fact there were two brothers around doesn't mean that Reuven's off the hook. So therefore, right, it's only going to be, right, so again, you're not just going to be let off for that. Rather, says Rebbe, their testimony was only inadmissible if they actually, the apostle or the Karev actually was it contributed and warned the violator. So our Mishnah is therefore talking about a scenario where Reuven brought witnesses, where the husband brought witnesses, 3 witnesses. One of them was a Karev apostle, but that Karev apostle didn't actually do the warning. So according to Reb Yossi doesn't make such a distinction. And he says, look, if you have one of them as a Karev apostle, the Eidos is batul. And therefore it's a Mamonus case. And that's like Reb Meir says 3. But Reb Yossi says, no, if he doesn't, as long as they don't warn, the testimony is admissible. And therefore, it's a nefashos case. The Chacham would say like that, and that's why they say 23. Already on Testament base, it's only a few more lines. Well, half an amud, but it's not a big amud. Viba Yisema. Another possibility. Kigon she'isru bo acherim v'lo yisru bo edim. The husband brings witnesses. The witnesses saw that that she was mizaneh, but the witnesses did not warn. Others warned. So the witnesses saw it. Others warned that if they do it, they'll be chayiv misa. The Rabbi Yossi and the Rabbanan. It's not that we learn in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yossi Yomi says, Rabbi Yossi la'olam einu nereg ad sheyehu pi shnei edav masun bo. Rabbi Yossi says that the witnesses are the ones who have to do the warning. And in this case, if it's not the witnesses who did the warning, well then it's a Mamonus case. Shneimar, as the says, apishnayim edim, that it's by the mouth of the 2 witnesses, they have to do the warning. They have to verbalize the warning. Whereas the Chacham would say, no, even if others did the warning, it's still a nefashos case. And that's why it's 23. By same alternatively, could go into iskachush bebedikis, iskachush b'chakiris. Alternatively, when the witnesses, right, the husband brought witnesses, but when they showed up in court and the Chacham and the judges were interrogating them, we're going to learn later on, right, the whole interrogation process was very intense. Right? You come to testify that somebody's chayav misa. It's an intense interrogation process. And there's 2 different types of questions that they ask. There's the chakiros. The chakiros are the real core questions, right? The ones that relate to time and place. The ones that we need to have, they have to be in agreement. Right? Both witnesses have their testimony needs to line up on time and place, so that we can make that there's a potential to be able to, for others to come and say, wait, you couldn't have seen that because you were with us at another time, right? You were with us at that time in another place, right? So meaning Eidos has to be Eidos Shato Yochol Azima. In order for Eidos to be admissible, it must be with testimony that could be proven, right? That has to have the potential for others to say you're lying because you were with us somewhere else, and that's related to time and place. They must get their stories straight for the time and place questions. But then there's drishos, other questions. For example, was the murderer wearing a white shirt or a black shirt? That kind of a thing. So the question is, what happens if one said it was a white shirt, the other one says it was a black shirt? So v'baisema could go into iskachush bebedikos, that the witnesses contradicted each other, that they didn't line up when it came to these kind of technical questions. But they got all of those core questions about time and place. Their stories aligned there. It's like the machlokes between Ben Zakkai about the Rabbanon about what, and the Rabbanon about what happens if they contradict each other by these details. There was a Maaseh where Ben Zakkai, he checked, right, there was a murder under a fig tree, and it said where the stems of the fig, the stems of the fig tree, of the figs, were they thick or were they thin? I think that's what it was. Right, but right, they were asked, was uktzeh dakin or uktzeh gasin? Yeah, were they thick, were they thin? Very, very detailed questions, right? And even that, if they would get that wrong, he would throw out the testimony. So therefore, the question is, if they mess up in the bedikos, what would happen? According to Reb Meir, we throw out the case, and it's a case of dini mominus. According to Chavim, it would still be a case of dini nefashos. Wow, whew. That didn't end up being super long. We mamash are on Okay, that was Daf Ches of Masechta Sanhedrin, but we actually also did about 3/4 of Daf Tes of Masechta Sanhedrin. Tomorrow is also going to be a weird day because we're going to basically finish up Daf Tes and we're going to do about 1/4 of Daf Yud, but then things will get normal again. I just think this whole thing was just, it was all about this machlokus between Reb Meir and the Chachamim. I figured we should just, look, it took 45 minutes, I think, to do the whole thing. In terms of time, it wasn't crazy. And like this, we don't have to pick up tomorrow at the beginning, mamish in the middle of a whole new thing, and have to remember what we're talking about. Okay, so the main thing we talked about today was this machlokus between Reb Meir and the Chachamim about is Motzi Shem Rab with 3 or with 23 and all sorts of different scenarios in explaining that machlokus. Peace out.